I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad you like the art pieces. Thank you, Aiden. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to continue to experience a living artist. I do appreciate you guys tuning in and interacting. Thank you, Aiden. Let me know if this piece evokes any emotions or what type of emotions does it evoke. If it does, I'd love to know. How long have you been creating art? So I've been creating art um, for over 10 years, about 10 years now. Uh, but I started taking art more, like I started gradually taking art more serious throughout my journey and figuring out myself as an artist within my spiritual journey of even starting art in the first place as an art therapy. But over the few years, um, my art has elevated to a different space in the sense of why I'm creating art currently still. When I started creating art, it was more of a art therapy, and then throughout the years, it turned into more of a passion and a way for me to continue to express myself along that journey. I'll go more into depth in more lives in the future about my artist journey overall, because it doesn't start with painting. It starts with photography and fashion and handmade accessories. But I'll get into more details as I continue to create more lives along the way to give you guys more insight of my journey and the why of why I started creating art and continue to create art. I feel like as an artist, there's periods of my journey that I can explain in sequence to show along the way how my journey has shifted and has gone from certain mediums and intertwining certain mediums to create what I'm creating now. You'll be able to see that journey as I create that timeline publicly on my main website once it relaunches. That's something that I am working on, is a full timeline which will outline periods of my artistic journey up until 2026 and ongoing. That's something that I thought about a lot recently. So I just bring it up because you asked. That is something that I am going to be bringing to my website so you guys have a better understanding of my artist journey. But I'm glad you found me at this stage in my artist journey, because this is the stage where I'm no longer thinking about what I create. I'm in my zen, my flow state as an artist currently. Um, so I do appreciate you tuning in and vibing out and appreciating my art currently. So thank you. How you doing, Artsy? I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing. Just started using paint sticks. Paint sticks, honestly, are the best. I'm about to order some other ones online. Yeah, no problem. I hope you have the most blessed time into your art and creative journey. Thank you so much, Aiden. I do appreciate it. And I hope to see you along the way in my lives and just being a part of my overall journey as an artist as well. Thank you. Yeah, paint sticks are the shit. I'm not gonna lie. I need some thick paint sticks, but I can't get them around me. I have to order them online. I wish we had a local art shop dedicated to that near me, rather than having to go out my way to Carajo land. I like your ad name too, Artsy. So I can assume you're an artist as well, or you're an artsy, creative. Thank you for tuning in, though. I appreciate you. I think paint sticks allow you to get your ideas out quickly. So when you're working on larger scale pieces, or you're just working on canvas pieces, or whatever your medium of choice is, not medium, your platform of choice or whatever, you're able to expand on your thoughts from those quicker pieces that you're able to create with paint sticks. That's what elevated my journey, is being able to pick up mediums that I can use to create art quickly, and to be able to get my thoughts out, my vision out quickly, because the more work you can create, the more visions, the more thoughts you can get out quickly, as opposed to working on some large extravagant piece, and it's taking you however long just because you're not in your flow. This allows you, this allows me at least to be in my flow state, and to get to a point like right now where I don't have to think about creating art anymore. It's just all flow. And I love that about creating like this, and then expanding that into my canvas works or anything else I do. Yeah, I need to get a coffee machine and just put it right there, because I'm tired of going in and out. But maybe this is my calling. Slow down with the coffee. Um, angst. I created a series based off of the term angst that you guys will be able to see on my main website launch very soon. Someone who goes through anxiety, when I learned about the term angst, it shifted a whole it shifted. It was something that I wanted to dig deeper into, so I created a series while learning about the term angst, and created different poems and different uh, paintings based off of my learning process of learning the term angst. And then, of course, using it to relate to how I feel as far as what that term means. I did that collection in 2023, 2024. I want to say possibly 2023, 2022. I have to double check, but it's an important collection though, and it's something that I'm gonna add to as well ongoing. For those for those who don't know as well, this series here is actually based off of a series called Dear Diary. So it's based off of my immediate thoughts, my raw emotions, um, my thoughts in the immediate moment. So in the present moment, it's basically my real time journal. happening in real time. And why is Siri going off right now? This does this all the time. I said nothing about Siri, but Siri turned on. Um, yeah, so this is based off of my immediate thoughts. So during the time I'm creating it, I'll put the time I'm creating. So 3:37, Dear Diary. However I'm feeling. So Dear Diary, angst. If I if I just feel overall just feeling and I don't want to title it with a term or something, I'll just title it Dear Diary, the time, and then the date that I created it to create that overall feeling of a journal. Over my journey, I've always created different pieces in sketchbooks and currently doing on paper. But throughout my journey, Dear Diary, the term, came about to tell my story overall. Because although this series here is raw and almost very quick, I'm creating each piece. There's a lot of pieces that you don't see live that are a little bit more intimate in that moment when I need to really express how I'm feeling in that moment. That's why this is really an art therapy for me first, you know? So it's like there's so much that goes into this. It's like my journal and I'm really giving it out to you guys and I don't have to really like show my true thoughts, you know? Or how I'm feeling, but it's something that I choose to express through my art overall. That you can have a dark time, or you can have um, a time of lonesome and still create light through that dark. I dig your art, bro. Excuse me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate that a lot. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe so you continue to experience a living artist. Because I have a lot more behind the scenes that I'm going to be doing on a regular. Over this past week on live, I've created over 60 pieces on YouTube Live, and they're all replayable on my YouTube page as well if you would like to see it in the future. So definitely tune in the future as well. I appreciate the support. Sub last night. I appreciate you subscribing. Hope more people find your channel. I hope so as well. In time. All I can do is continue to do what I love. And hope that I find my soul family like yourself along the way. Appreciate you, Nate. Thank you. Looks really good so far. I appreciate it. Thank you. How you doing today? Paradoxes? I'm doing well. Can't complain. How about yourself? Do you have royal purple or indigo gold or silver, something metallic? Yeah, I have orange. I'll use uh I'll use some of those colors. I only have primary colors for the sticks. Let me see. Royal blue, orange. Yeah, I'll use blue, orange. I'm gonna use two blue. Royal blue. I'll see what happens. I could definitely use those colors. Okay, and I'll put purple too. I have a darker silver, so I'll use that. Well, it's gray, actually. No problem, Paradoxes. My apology. I just noticed that you said in one of your short content that you may start taking color suggestions from viewers. Didn't mean to just. Nah, you're good. I was planning on doing it tonight, but it just shifted differently. But I'll do those colors for this one. Since you brought it up, I definitely don't mind doing it, especially if somebody brings it up. No problem, Paradoxes.
Has your artist name always been the same, or have you been different signatures?
No, I've always been Della Soul Child. In the beginning, I was using my name. I still use my name, but Della Soul Child is a representation of my spiritual journey overall. So I chose that name, like back in the day, like over 10 years now. Um, Along the way. So basically, when I started my spiritual journey for myself during my art journey, that's when I decided to use Della Soul Child. But then along the way, I do put out my real name and then Della Soul Child along with it. But that's my artist name. Along the way, I mean, those are other stories to tell through my art. Um, it's not. I never actually went by other names, but there was a certain time where I created pseudonyms, but I kind of left those behind. Possibly one pseudonym, I can bring back. It's kind of more of a street artist pseudonym. But even through that, I was Della Soul Child. But there was a period where um, I was showcasing certain other names rather. It didn't really fit my my story. I realized, so I just kind of strayed away from it. It makes a good story though because it has to do with my journey. But that's something that I'm currently and have spoken through different pieces, and I'll speak more about that journey through different pieces as I go along to explain why I chose different names at some point, um, along with Della Soul Child. And I find it quite interesting because I'm sure there are a lot of people who can relate um, to that feeling I had during the time I was using other names along with Della Soul Child. I was telling somebody else who was on this live that I plan on making like a timeline on my main website that showcases periods of my journey, and every year explain where I was at throughout that year, what I was creating throughout that year, and kind of explain my full journey up until now, and then ongoing in that same format in a timeline type format. So you'll see that in the future. I started getting that idea recently. Well, I've had that idea for a long time, but recently I put together how I want to display it. And I think it's the best way to be able to explain my journey in a more coherent coherent way. What's that imposter syndrome? So basically, as I'm working on this piece, I could talk a little bit about that period. Um, During that time, I wasn't really aware of what imposter syndrome is. Um, I'm the type of person that, like, as I go along my journey and my growth as just a human being overall, I realize And me even going through psychology and graduating in psychology with a bachelor's, and then living life and looking at life overall and realizing that every every year, every day, almost, but let's just say it starts with today with somebody's feelings, and then in a year from now we have a new term to explain what that feeling is. So it's like when I learned about imposter syndrome, it's just a term that I learned, but it's a feeling that like I kind of was experiencing um along, with others who experience that same feeling, but then along that way they put this imposter syndrome term. So I feel like that was like a part of that. Like I was trying to be something else. Possibly, not possibly. It's obvious I wasn't comfortable in who I was, right? So I was trying to create stories even with my image. So it was an interesting period because I got to learn about myself, got to learn about more about that term and how it relates to my feeling, um, and work on it. Because it's not something that should be debilitating your whole life, although you're always going to have those type of feelings that you're not worthy enough or something. But like for me at least, the whole goal is to maneuver life through those feelings, or through those thoughts rather. Like at the end of the day, they're just thoughts. Even when you learn how to get through them, it's possible those thoughts could still arise, but how you handle those thoughts in the future reflects, how you were handling it during your journey. At least, for me, at least that's how I look at it, and and that's why this period of my journey is important for me, because I'm at a different headspace. I'm at a different place in my life. Um, still trying to figure out me, but who isn't, right? But I think there's a fine line between figuring out who you are and then knowing what you do. What you do doesn't have to always be what you are, because sometimes you could lose sight of your present moment. I feel like I think the best approach is for me is the balance approach. But that's an important period of my artistic journey. If I'm not mistaken, I think I gave a collector a piece who collected a wearable art piece in New York, and I might have sent her. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think so. I might have sent her a piece from that period. I also have a piece here, one piece from that period. Um, and then I think I gave her one piece from that period. Like it still reflects my art. It's just a name, but then even on, and it was like this was a creative idea from this standpoint, but there was a period where like it shifted from that, and then it shifted to this. It it's an interesting period for me. It's better for me to put it out in a timeline and explain it coherently like that, and you'll understand in a bigger picture. But like, it's not that confusing. Imposter syndrome is like probably the easiest, broadest term I guess you could say. And then of course there was a time, could have been, yeah, it was after that period. Yeah, after that period, if I'm not mistaken, then there was another name, but that one was more of a creative art project. I could continue a project based off of that. It's actually not a bad idea for the future, I'll be honest. I think, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll get copyrighted, so I might have to work with the brand, which would be dope to do. I could pitch it to them as well, but that's for another time. because that's not guaranteed. But I will have those pieces displayed on my website just to show that period and to reflect like that time, that journey. And that's why I love art as an art therapy in general. Is that when you're going through things and you're learning about yourself at that moment, you're creating through that moment, you could look back in time and see, feel where you were at that time and see how you are in the present moment based off of that period of time. And sometimes I look at my own art and don't see what I saw at the time that I was creating it. I feel a whole new emotion at that time. But it always brings me back to when I created it for the most part. That's inviolable.
Do you ever try to separate your art from itself? I don't know if that makes sense. It's like a time. Okay, so do you ever try to separate your art from? So,
Do you mean do I try to separate art from myself? I know where you're getting at if that's what you're saying. I've had that conversation with myself hundreds of times. Right now is probably the biggest time I'm questioning that.
like having styles of series that is out of your. Oh, okay. So I'm thinking outside the box of that.
Is that what you mean? Did you ever try to separate my art from itself? Oh yeah, well, throughout my ten years it's all been experimentation. Like what you're seeing now is just a fast form of me creating on paper, but this is just me getting on my thoughts. And but my experimentation, this is my experimentation as far as um thoughts. Like I'm putting on my thoughts, getting on my vision. And then as far as experimentation, as far as using other materials within my works, I do that with my canvas work. So my canvas works are all basically a mixed media type feeling. It's very layered. It's more in depth than what you see here. Here is more flat. I'm not using paints. I'm using acrylic sticks, gel sticks, paint sticks. So I do experiment already. That's something that I've been doing throughout the years, and that's why like the form that I have now is the that bigger puzzle piece from the different puzzles of my periods of my life and different styles that I've done. So a lot of my works on my canvas, you'll see a lot of collage within the canvas, acrylics, spray paint, and then different forms there. But throughout my journey now, it's always been to get to a point of knowing who I am through my work. So experimentation is something that I'll do always while creating what is, I guess you could say, natural to me at that time, to be able to express my overall vision as an artist, if that makes sense. So experimentation for me is not separating what I create in itself and then creating something that doesn't represent me. You get what I'm saying? If I were to do something like that, it would be for myself until I feel it represents my overall, I don't want to say overall body of work, but I want to say represents myself, because my body of work is always going to change, and that's why I have different series of different themes, um, and then different styles within that. So that's how my experimentation goes as far as how I approach, my art. And I'm always open minded and always thinking about how I can expand on my vision, but expanding on what is me first, you know?
No, that's not a weird question.
That's not a weird question. So like, look, I can answer I could talk about that from like from a from a fan, right? Like me looking at art as a fan. I I hear people I've heard people say, "Oh, why do certain artists um why do certain artists create the same piece over and over again, just in different forms or different ways?" Um I don't know if that's like kind of what you're trying to get to, but I mean, if that is, I can go into depth with that.
Like, find a way to make it differently to overcome where you messed up.
So for me, I don't when I'm creating stuff like this, honestly, there is no time where I mess up. Even if I feel like it doesn't fit, I'll just change it. But everything I create, let's just say on paper, anything I create in general, when I say it's finished, right? I mean, there could be times where I could go back to it, but for the most part, it's when I finalize it and then put it out there, work, it's done. That's what it is. Because it's not about going back to your past pieces and fixing them. It's about going forward and continuing to create. Because if you're not, it's not about this piece. Is about continuing to create. If that makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, like this is one piece out of thousands, hundreds. You know what I'm saying? Thousands of pieces that I have, and then continuing my journey. The next piece is gonna be a piece, and then I'm gonna be creating another piece after that. So the journey continues. There's no point in going back to, as I learn, to go back and try to fix or recreate something that you already created. Because at the end of the day, it's a part of your journey. If you feel like, if I feel like there's a piece where it just doesn't represent my overall story, it just won't even be there anymore. That's just how I think about my work. I'm always thinking about the future, so I'm always thinking about how will this represent me in the future. Like, I wanted to tell my story. If I know it represents me now, I'm happy with it. I'm done. That's it. Like, this tells who I was at that moment. There's no need to go back and fix something who I was. Like, I can't go back in the past and fix my mistakes. So why do that with art? It makes no sense, in my eyes, because I'm always going to grow with my art. That's the whole purpose of my art journey, is that through my pieces I'm growing. And for me, it's not about making something look perfect, because for me, it's perfection already. There's always things you can add and fix or recreate, right? But at the end of the day, however I feel is how I feel, and that's how I want to create my art. I want to be able to look at my art and say, I'm good with this, and then let the outside world dictate how they feel about the pieces that I create. And then if one piece doesn't connect with somebody, that's fine, because there's so many other pieces to connect with along my journey,
And even others artists' journeys as well. do you scrap stuff if you make mistakes?
So actually, over the years, there's certain artworks that that I feel like have become just a little bit disgruntled. Like they were just like sketches or just different pieces that are just really just sketch form, right? Like scraps or things like that. I've been keeping a lot of different works that have like weren't really a full body of work but were messed up, and I plan to take those pieces and make a collage on canvases uh, to represent those pieces and to represent different type of emotions. So for example, I lived in Florida for about 6 years, and my apartment flooded, and I had to my apartment flooded out there, and I ended up moving back to New Jersey. There's a couple pieces that messed up with paper, and during that process, when I was uh, picking up, getting my art and getting it safe and things like that, during that moment, I was like, nah, I'm keeping these because at first I was like, shit, right? But at that moment, I'm a creative. I'm like, no, there's no way. Like, I know I can't like save it, but I can't recreate something out of that. So I did keep some of those pieces. And I'm happy that I did because I'm going to take those and put it on canvas all cut up and different things and then explain that period of my life that a lot of people don't know that happened to me, was shifted a lot. And during that period when it happened, that's when my art was shifting so much. Like I was gaining this momentum inside of me. Um, then I had to go back to New Jersey, and things, were just a little different. I had to readjust certain things or whatever. But the point is that that will be a start of what you're talking about. So you'll see that in the future. That's something that I'm not working on at the current moment. I have my pieces when I'm ready to formulate that story and put it together. There's some canvases that I worked on during that period when I did get flooded out based off of that experience. I wasn't ready to truly fully tell that experience, but I am now. It's just about creating that experience. But the pieces that messed up, I didn't mess up on, if that makes sense. Uh, so put it like this: if I'm making sketches, right, not like this, but in like my sketchbook, in my regular, I have it right here. Like if I'm making works in my regular sketchbooks for myself, I guess you can call like some of these, maybe perhaps like mess ups. I don't know, and everything's subjective. I wouldn't call it a mess up now though, because those are my journals, those are my diaries, like those are personal to me. But to explain what you're saying, there are journals like this that, for example, are going to be collaged up as well. Not these specific journals. These specific journals are going to be archived and put into a published book that that these are just waiting to be put together for. But what you're saying, I have a lot of other sketches that are similar to that, but are not in those books that will be used within different collaged canvases. And I have done similar things like that already in my past works as well that I have not shown yet fully. So you will see a side of that as well. But like I said, that's my overall works on canvas like this. And even this one doesn't show all the layers of a lot of my other paintings in the sense of collage work. This is all acrylic based and acrylic sticks and gel sticks. No, it's all good. The thing is that those pieces, it those pieces that I'm talking about were from the beginning stages, kind of when I started, and they weren't. It's not that they were uh so important, but like at the end of the day, they were important in the sense of for me, uh, for my journey, right? So that's why I kept some of them that I felt like, all right, this is important to have, and I can recreate something out of that, a new art piece that will actually be a finished art piece rather than what those were anyway. And it's not a lot of works. A lot of like canvases didn't really get messed up, so it was a plus side. But like at the end of the day, what you're speaking about anyway, it was something that I wanted to do. Like as far as that project that I'm gonna do, it could have been a lot more works that I'm creating now. Now put it like this: all the works that I have now if those would have got messed up, I would have that would have hurt. But I would have saved it somehow. Canvases though are easier to save as long as you're quick about it, and I was quick. So paper is different. Paper, you get damage on that quick. I went off on a little tangent. Hence the word focus. Thank you. You really like you really like those? You like this one, you mean?
I like all the ones you currently have out and that you have been working on this one.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, Paradoxes. Yeah, this is probably gonna be the last, possibly the last one. What time is it? 4:30. On live. A collaboration with Paradoxes. A color collaboration. Any mediums? So actually, I want to expand on using oil, oil paints later this year. I want to expand with oil paints along with acrylics. So my acrylics will be the base layer, and then the final layer, or rather, some oils on top of the acrylics to make more texture and different different styles within that. And then there's a medium I am bringing to my canvases, but you'll see that in the future. I don't want to speak about that aspect yet until it's finalized. But it should be of it is luxury. So it's like it's nothing that's going to is basically going to be added to the finished piece of this to make it a more luxury feeling that will have a diamond like feel to the final piece, the whole thing, like you're looking at glass. I haven't done it yet, haven't spoken about the product itself, but that's coming in the future. I just wanted to drop, and that's going to be an added addition to anybody who either wants to have that in commissions or paintings, or there's going to be certain paintings that will just have that element to it already. But that's not for every painting, because that's going to it will take away a lot from if I'm doing that on every single one. So it's something that I want to give an option to, and then also something to add to certain paintings as well.
Random thought. Thank you, I appreciate it. Oil paint is very intimidating. Right, highlighting parts of.
Right. Just building just building a top layer on top of the acrylic layer, you know? I mean, I don't have a specific plan of how I'm going to use the oil paints. I just know that it's something that I want to incorporate, to be honest. I'm just gonna let the process take me there. But acrylic is always gonna be my main medium, along with adding other elements to it, at least to my canvases. Thank you. Hope so. No, I know I will. I mean, it's just about getting a flow with it. I think this piece is done. Dear diary, focus. 4:32 a.m. It's now 4:45. I appreciate you collabing with me on the colors for this paradoxes. We'll definitely do this another time as well, on a larger canvas piece too in the future. I might do in the future like a canvas that's created from live support. So like everybody who's subscribed or live or whatever, you guys can chime in and tell me which colors to use for like a canvas or something like that as well. But I'm definitely gonna be doing these more often as well on live, taking colors from anybody else as well. I like doing this. At least doing like one piece every few lives. Of course, unlocking. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I'll always remember this piece. The collab. Definitely gonna write it on the back though. This piece was created from a subscriber through YouTube Live, so I can always, and everybody can always remember like that was his piece. And if a collector ends up collecting this specific piece, they'll know. Or who knows, if it gets to you, we'll see. The future only knows. But I do appreciate you tuning in, Paradoxes. I hope to see you another time. Let's give it a nice close up. Dear Diary, focus. That's the goal, guys. We gotta focus. Just focus. When we're unfocused, we just gotta get refocused. I appreciate the love, everybody. And thank you again, Paradoxes. I will definitely be back around for another. Definitely. And honestly, I'm just tuning in all the time now. Once I really get to my canvases live, there's going to be some times where I'm not able to conversate like continuously, but I'll be like going back and forth like when it comes to those type of pieces. But I'm always going to have lives like this as well. I love connecting with everybody. So I do appreciate everybody who's tuning in, and as well as you, and meeting you on live as well, Paradoxes. It's like a dope experience to create art while other people are watching, and also collaborating on certain pieces with you guys. That's dope. Like, there's not many. I don't think there's many art pieces in the art world that an artist could say, "Oh yeah, me and a fan, or you know what I'm saying, a supporter, like created this piece. They gave me the colors and we just did it live right there." It's another thing for commissions, but to do it live for an actual art piece that's not a commission, I like that idea. So we're definitely gonna be doing that on canvases and different things like that. Again, thank you, Paradoxes. I'm gonna be tuning off, all right? And I appreciate everybody else who's tuned in. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you can continue to experience a living artist. Peace and love.